الله أكبر حي على الصلاة الله أكبر
Islam?
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
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 Salvation, Allah, unity, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and bylaws. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheik is the Assistant Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam?
Islam.
Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest. Because on a Friday, the first man was formed in the flesh, and on a Friday, the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is the holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Islam?
Islam.
Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Islam?
Islam.
Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the laws of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are a part and a partial of the government and must live the life accordingly. Islam?
Islam.
Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of the said government, but to obey hereby. Islam?
Islam.
Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are a part and a partial of the said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live and the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites whom inhabited the northwestern and southwestern shores of Africa. Islam?
Islam.
Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his Father God Allah. Islam?
Islam.
Noble Drew Ali, founder, Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day. Through his holy prophet, Drew Ali, Ameen.
Ameen.
The Moorish Science Temple of America, Home Office, Noble Drew Ali, 3140 Indiana Avenue, Chicago, Illinois, USA. Islam?
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
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 Please be seated. I rise, giving the highest of praises to Allah, the Father of the universe, cherisher and sustainer of all the boundless universes. I stick the highest of honors to his holy and divine prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Islam?
Islam.
I extend high honors to his forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, the founder of the Universal Negro Improvement Association, who did indeed warn and stir up the nations. Islam, Moors?
Islam.
I extend high honors to the Moorish flag, the red flag, with the 5-pointed green star in the center. These 5 points represent love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. These are the 5 highest principles known to man. Islam?
Islam.
I extend high honors to the American flag, also known as the Stars and Stripes. This flag exists as a constant reminder that the European nations owe you, the Moors, with compound interest. Islam?
Islam.
This is also the flag of our birth. Islam? Extending honors to the noble Sheik staff, noble Vanguard staff who keep the peace, and giving honors to you, the ills and babes, for without you, there is no Moorish movement. Islam, Moors? How's everyone on the holy day? Praise Allah. I want to give honors to you all for coming out and making the sacrifice to attend your meetings promptly. Islam, Moors? Praise Allah. I think it'd be fitting, to open up, until our beloved chairman arrives. I've already spoken him into existence, pulling in now. Just very briefly on, the 4th of July demonstration, right? Moors, we have to be careful how we wield what the Prophet Noble Drew Ali returned to us. Islam, Moors? The Bible says, in all you're getting, get understanding, right? Prophet Noble Drew Ali says that the gifts of the understanding are the treasures of Allah. Islam Moors? And he also says that, he appoints, in a measure to seem, good unto himself, a portion to each one of us. Islam Moors? Now, what we don't have the right to do, Moors, is, to beat our people over the head because of their beliefs. Islam? All you're called to do is to warn the people, right? To take what was brought to you and warn the people, right? Drop a seed. Give them the real history on July 4th and what it represents. What 1776 represented, right? For the European nations as well as the Asiatic nation. Islam? But you have to do it from a motive of love, right? You have to do it from a motive of you wanting to see your people uplifted instead of you beating your people up because they barbecuing. Islam Moors? Because that's a measure of understanding. As me and the brother Mustafa was demonstrating earlier, Sheik Mustafa, Rael parts of, was the fact that a man, Islam, Brother Chairman, is that a man can only be what he knows, right? So when you see our people at the cookout, when you see them got the slab of ribs on the grill, drinking the alcohol, the music turned up, dancing to Frankie Beverly and Maze, they being what they know, Morris. Islam, and what you don't want to become is what they call a pariah. Like, you don't want to be that person that, you come with your fez to the barbecue and they, here you go. You don't want to be that person, right? If anything, if they're engaging in any enlightening conversation, well, we know if anybody know, we know he know. You want to be the person that they defer to. Islam Moors, not the person that they shun and run away from, because you're not going to win anybody to the truth that way. Islam? And you best believe that, this is a war. We warring for our people's minds back, right? And, the European uses a certain finesse when it comes to winning our people over. You know what I'm saying? Like, he doesn't just, tell them to, you shouldn't wear your natural hair. You should do this. No, he puts out enough advertisements of European women with this demonstration. You know what I'm saying? And subconsciously, it's like the frog in the pot. You don't turn the heat up all at once. You turn it up bit by bit. Next thing you know, he's boiling. Islam, So the same thing, we have to incrementally impart wisdom to our people. That is what we're winning them back. Islam, and more than anything, your example, right? Let us be the message that we bring, right? So instead of just telling them one thing and doing another, let us actually be the message. Islam Moors? All right. A lot of times I think we take for granted, the wisdom that's imparted to us on a Friday holy day. A lot of times, when we're on the highways and byways talking to people, demonstrating about the Prophet and the movement, people ask, like intricate questions about the movement and stuff like that and whatever. And it's almost expected that you're gonna take and break everything down right there. But that thought is almost like in opposition to our Quran, because everything has an appointed time. Islam Moors? See, when there's an energy that actualizes itself, when the meeting is carried out in due form. Islam? The oracle, enables itself to open up and channel and bring wisdom from Allah, the Father of the universe, to you. So a lot of times, brothers who stood behind the altar and demonstrated, attest to the fact that you might have started off with what you wanted to say, right? But somewhere in there, it'll kick in like, okay, you step aside, I got something for them. Islam Moors? And that's what, in his totality, that's what Prophet Noble Drew Ali represented for us. You know what I'm saying? Like, he submitted his will to the will of Allah, and by doing that, became the strength of Allah made manifest. Islam Moors? All right. So I got a few topics I want to hit today. I'm going to ease into it before I announce the actual title of the topic. It says you have to prepare the ground before the corn is planted. Islam? Let's go to chapter 47 in your Holy Quran, the Moorish Science Temple of America. I want to start gratitude. I want to start at instruction 9. Okay, 47, instruction 9. Let me say Islam when you're there. Islam. Praise Allah. And let me do that right. Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, divinely prepared by the noble prophet Drew Ali, by the guiding of his father God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from his sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his father God Allah. Islam Moors? Instruction 9. According to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, black, or colored race attached to the human family, because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human race, descendants of the ancient Canaanite nation from the Holy Land of Canaan. What your ancient forefathers were, you are today without doubt or contradiction. Islam, Morris?
Islam.
There is no one who was able to change man from the descendant nature of his forefathers unless his power extends beyond the great universal creator Allah himself. These holy and divine laws are from the prophet Noble Drew Ali, the founder of the Uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Uniting of the Moorish Science Temple of America. You know, the temple was united in his day. That's a prophecy. There was only one Moorish Science Temple of America under the prophet. So he was prophesying in that day that it would fragment. But he's the founder of the uniting of it when that happens. Islam, Morris?
Islam.
Okay, you gotta be taught this thing. Instruction 13. These laws are to be strictly preserved. Does that allow a lot of room for latitude for strictly preserved by the members of all the temples of the Moorish Science Temple of America? That they will learn to open their meeting and guide it according to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Let me pause there. Anybody know Act 2? Divine Constitution Bylaws? Islam, Act 2.
Arise, giving all praise to Father God Allah, and highest honor to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali.
Islam?
Salvation, Allah, unity, Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws, Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice.
Come on.
Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday, the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday, the first man departed out of flesh.
Take time out.
Salvation, Allah, unity, Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaws, Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest.
Because on a Friday,
Because on a Friday,
the first man,
the first man was formed in flesh.
and on a Friday,
And on a Friday, the first man departed out of flesh.
and
Ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, all Muslims,
Friday
Friday is to be
is the holy day.
the holy day for all Muslims all over the world.
Islam. Praise Allah. Takbir. Praise Allah. All right. So that statement, and thank you, Moore. Thank you for that. All right. But that statement right there, you know, all meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 and love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. That's a different statement than this right here. That they will learn to open their meeting and guide it according to the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Remember, this right here, what is this pamphlet called?
Moorish Holy Quran.
Right, or the Holy Quran. What's it say?
The Holy Quran, the Moorish Science Temple of America.
Okay, is this the Circle 7? No, the Circle 7's on here, but it's not the Circle 7. Islam? The Circle 7 represents something else. We can't get into that tonight. We're in the wrong heaven. Islam? All right, but just saying that to say, not trying to be deep, but just delineating how the prophet teaches. You know what I'm saying? The prophet puts it in your face, and you know, if you go out half cocked, you think you got the whole demonstration. And he wants you to feel that, right? Because you'll get out there and realize, wait a minute, I don't know what I think I know. Let me go back and be taught. Right? No matter how wise you think you are, you still have to go back and be taught. All masters sat at the foot of a master at one point. Islam? All right? Islam. Oh, praise Allah. Islam. I got a cheering section. Praise Allah. Islam. All right? Instruction 14. Every subordinate temple of the Grand Major Temple is to form under the covenant of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and create their own laws and customs in conjunction with the laws of the Holy Prophet and the Grand Temple. I, the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, was sent by the great God Allah to warn all Asiatics of America to repent from their sinful ways before the great and lawful day which is sure to come. What is the duty of a prophet? According to the 101s, how do you teach us? What is the duty of a prophet? To save?
Save nations from the wrath of Allah.
From the wrath of Allah. So in that sense, pursuant to that key, the prophet would be a savior, right? But here he would also be considered a warner, right? Because his job was to warn all Asiatics as well. Islam? Instruction 15. The time has come when every nation must worship under its own vine and fig tree, and every tongue must confess his own. Through sin and disobedience, every nation has suffered slavery. Every nation has suffered slavery due to the fact that they honored not the creed and principles of their forefathers. This is why the nationality of the Moors was taken away from them in 1774, and the word Negro, black, and colored was given to the Asiatics of America who were of Moorish descent, because they honored not the principles of their mother and father and strayed after the gods of Europe, of whom they knew nothing. Islam, Morris? That date, 1774, is an interesting date, not only because of, as Brother Yosef Al-Fidel demonstrated, that that was the beginning of the constitutional evolution, right? But that was the year, again, us being marked Negro, black, and colored, right? In not speaking radical or agitating against any other organized group, but it's just interesting as far as the timeline. The year 1775, anybody familiar with a man named Prince Hall?
Yes, sir.
What is Prince Hall known for? Our brother, he's one of our brothers, right? Asiat? Masons, right? The first lodge that he was permitted to organize as African Lodge 459, right? But they organized was a military lodge, right? And they organized in that sense to seek after the principles of Freemasonry that espouses itself to be beyond religion, creed, whatever, so on and so forth, right? But notice that this is 1 year after the nationality was stripped. So you have one seeking to try to find something to put our people in to keep us from going the way of barbarism. Islam, Morris? All right? And you'll find from that period of 1774 up until 1913, that was the way, if you wanted to organize our people, that was the way you had to go. Even our forerunner, the Honorable Marcus Mosiah Garvey, was Mason. Islam, Morris? And people don't understand how he unfolded. That's how he grew so quickly. He was recruiting through the lodges. Islam? He was recruiting amongst groups that were already organized. That's what boosted his numbers. Islam, Morris? All right? So, but the demonstration of 1774, the marks of Negro, black, colored, and Ethiopian, right? Let's go back in instruction 9. It says, according to all true and divine records of the human race, there is no Negro, black, or colored race attached to the human family, because all the inhabitants of Africa were and are of the human race, descendants of the ancient nation from the holy land of Canaan, right? What are the true and divine records of the human race? Give me some examples. Islam, what?
First I rise giving praises to Allah,
Islam.
Father of the universe, honors to his noble prophet, noble Joe Ali,
Islam.
honors to all members in attendance, honors to the Grand Sheik,
Islam, what?
honors to everybody pertaining to Islam.
Islam, what? You recognize?
Peace.
Peace.
All true and divine records of the human family is that man was made in the image and the likeness of God.
Islam. Now, that's from an etheric sense or a spiritual sense,
Okay.
right? But the prophet is pointing us to some written records somewhere that attest to the fact that there is no Negro, black, or colored attached to the human family.
Okay.
What are examples of these records? Now, keep in mind, we've never been a secular people. You know that, right?
Never.
The movement the prophet brought us, is it divine or national?
Both.
Islam. It's a trick question. Y'all caught that. It's divine and national. Why is it divine and national? Because as a people, we've always been divine and national. You can't separate the two. So when the prophet says Islamism, is that a new or is that an old time religion?
Old time religion.
Right? Now when you research Islamism, what is utilized as, we went over this in some Sunday schools, that there's certain groups of Arabs that also use the term Islamism. Okay? If you research a group called Ikhwani Muslimun, they call themselves the Muslim Brotherhood. Right? They use the term Islamism, but what they were trying to do, they were trying to utilize Islam, right, in a political, social, cultural, and religious sense, as a holistic sense. Because you gotta remember, the Arab, treatment of Islam traditionally has been, just religious. Islam? All right? But then they started realizing through studying really what the Quran of Mecca was saying, it's saying that it is all of that entail. That's your rules of war. That's your rules of, like, I give the example all the time. People love to research, the statutes and the ordinances and what this law says and that law says. All right. Allah forbid, right? But let's say this whole thing burnt up tomorrow. All right. So there's no more City Hall downtown. The state capitol building is gone. DC is gone. Them 10 miles square, all that's gone. Right? You as an Asiatic, the prophet said the keys of civilization were and are in your hands. Right? What would you go back to rebuild your civilizations? Well, what did you use in ancient times? Right? What was the first book that the Europeans, once the Moors were defeated, what was the first book that the Europeans translated into English? The Quran of Mecca. Why? Because if you defeated the Moors and you want to figure out, backtrack and figure out, your masterminds trace themselves back and figure out how we did what we did, you want to know what we studied and what we lived our lives by. Islam Moors? All right? So in other words, more in your law class, you studied contract law.
Indeed.
And then torts and so on and so forth, right? All of that is in the Quran of Mecca.
That's right.
Every last bit of it.
It is.
Witnesses, notaries, all that's in there, right? At the Supreme Court of the United States, they built them all on the Roman model of temples, right? So they have statues going all the way around it, right? They have 19 statues going all the way around of the great lawgivers of history. One of the great lawgivers they have up there is the Prophet Muhammad, right? Now it's interesting to me that, the way the Arabs have it, they don't want anybody even paint a picture of the Prophet Muhammad, but there's a whole statue and they got no problem with that, right? Okay, well, that's another story. But the point is that he's acknowledged as one of the earth's greatest lawgivers, right? And as the chairman demonstrated is that we're here to propagate the faith of Muhammad in America. Not Arab Islam, but the faith of Muhammad. What is faith? Faith is that which, according to our Quran, faith is that which man knows is the truth, right? So we're here to, to demonstrate the, the knowledge of what we know to be true of what Muhammad brought. And Prophet Noble Drew came to reiterate that, right? But to plumb that line towards our particular pedigree, right? Because no prophet comes contradicting the one that came before him. None of them. So Prophet Noble Drew bore witness to to Prophet Muhammad. Prophet Muhammad bore witness to Jesus. Jesus bore witness to the prophets before him.
Indeed.
Right? Because there's a community and brotherhood of the prophets. It's a sacred order. It's a sacred order, Islam, and they don't violate that. You know what I'm saying? Just like John and Jesus, if you look at their relationship, because first of all, they were cousins, let's start there, and they were raised around each other. They had the same teachers, Elihu, and went to the same sacred schools in Egypt, so on and so forth. Jesus had a few extra measures because he went to India, and dealt with some masters there, came back with some extra portion. But the reality of it is that when he, when Jesus met in the camps of John, he served until it was his time, right? So he baptized people according to John's instruction. He was baptized by John according to Islam. And John, didn't want to do it. It's like, nah, it's like, I should be being baptized by you. I'm not even worthy to do what more? To even tie your shoes, right? So why am I quoting a lot of Bible? I'm quoting a lot of Bible or ancient scripture for the sole fact of these were our governmental principles came from, right? So the Europeans thinking he was slick and, taking the Quran from us and putting the Bible on us, that's ours too. You see what I'm saying? So the greatest of Christians, right? The ones that are really sincere about what they're doing are really Muslims. Why the prophet makes the oral statement according to what it said. Some of my greatest Moors are in the church. You know what I'm saying? Because if you really work in the degree of Jesus, you got something.
You just have to take the name out.
Because that messes with our sensibilities, right? And rightfully so. I'm wearing this particular, vestment for a reason. We've shed a lot of blood over the years relative to those interactions between Christians and Muslims, right? So from a Muslim perspective, if the term Christian bothers us, put the term aside and just look at how they live it, how they walk it. The average Christian that really loves the teachings of Jesus walks in the spirit of love and charity and community and brotherhood. So Islam, and there's nothing in that that's contradictory to that of Islam. Matter of fact, that is Islam. Islam Moors, all right? So I'm saying all that to say, relative to true and divine records, because, Moors, when they come to the prophet, when they wake up to the idea of the prophet, right? We believe, like we do it in everything else in Negro, Black, and Colored, that we can strip it apart and have the part of it that we like, And that's not how government is. Government works is when you come in, you accept the whole program. Islam?
Islam.
And if there's something you don't agree with, you work from the inside out to make a change. You don't sit from the outside and throw rocks at it. You come on the inside and now this is my institution and I don't like how we're doing this, so I'm gonna lobby for this to try to, let me talk to the Grand Sheik. Let me go to the brother chairman. And can we do a little more outreach on here? Can we do a little more with the children and the babies? Can we get some programs going for the babies? Islam, who's excellent with that, is sisters with coming to the brothers. They have no problem letting us know. Islam, we could be more efficient in this area. Praise Allah. Islam, brothers a little more quiet. We sit back and we complain and off to the corner, right? Why the Prophet makes us when you have a statement or a question or something you want to say in the temple, that you have to rise and make yourself heard. Well, that's something that, part of having the nationality stripped away is that you sit back and complain about things that are going on instead of being a man and woman and taking your place in the affairs of men and women and speaking up. See, this is all practice for if you have to go to a city council meeting or it's a community dispute or something, and you representing the Moors have to be the outspoken one. You're already practiced in that, right? If you're on a moment's notice, we do it all the time here, like, Brother Yosef, we need you to come up and demonstrate. And Mo had no demonstration ready, nothing. He get up with the holy breath only. You see him, he take the serious Moorish dramatic pause. So he's calling it down. Like Elijah calling that fire down on the altar. Once he hit this right here, the oracle's open. And some of his best measures were like that. I like to hit him like that because, that's you have to learn how to rely on Allah. And that's something that we've forgotten how to do. In that spirit, I want to ask a question. The question's rhetorical, but I want you to just kind of focus on what I'm saying. Who are those that will protect the holy city of Mecca? Islam. Let's read. For those who want to follow me, if you go on over to, if you have Google, I know everybody deals with Sheik Google these days. Go to Revelations chapter 14. Let's draw off some true and divine records. Islam? Revelations 14. Revelations in the Quran of Mecca is referred to as the Injil, right? The word Injil comes from the word in Arabic, Najala. Everyone, Najala. Najala means good news. The Arabs will tell you that the entire New Testament is the Injil. That's not true. Most of the New Testaments, Islam, most of the New Testament are letters written by men to other men.
Right.
They weren't prophets. They weren't called by Allah. They were ones who were inspired by a true and divine prophet of Allah named Jesus, right? But they were writing letters, trying to propagate the faith of what he brought. But that doesn't necessarily make it divinely inspired by Allah. To the point where in the synoptic gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, they call those the gospels according to Matthew. The gospel according to Luke, right? And if you read Luke 1:1, Luke said that I'm writing a gospel because the other ones wrote it and it seemed good to me also. Where's the divine in that? And I'm not speaking radical because it's the church, but that's the truth. Islam, right? But before I read that, can somebody give me like Revelations 1:1? So let's square Revelations and what it is and who sent it. Revelations 1:1. Islam more? Should I read it off?
Revelation of Jesus Christ, which God gave unto him.
Pause. So it's a revelation of who?
Jesus Christ.
Who gave it to him?
God.
Okay, keep going.
Gave unto him to show unto his servants.
Unto whose servants?
His servants.
His, meaning God, right?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Things which must shortly come to pass. And he sent and signified it by his angel unto his servant John.
Islam, right? So John was the scribe, right? Jesus was the medium, but Allah was the source, sending it. Islam? All right, so that's the Injil. Islam? So Revelations 14. And lo, I looked, pardon self, and I looked, and lo, a lamb stood on Mount Zion, and with him 144,000 having his father's name written in their foreheads. Islam? It doesn't say on their forehead, it says in.
I have a translation that says on, but
Islam. Right.
It said up. Okay.
Islam.
Yeah.
If you trace the language back, it's in. Because the science says it's the thought, right? Because everything is a thought.
Right.
Islam. All right? And that 144,000 is no spookism. The number 12 was a universal number. If you square 12, it's 144. Islam was? All right? And I heard, and then that 1,000 is eternity, right? And I heard a voice from heaven as the voice of many waters and as the voice of a great thunder. And I heard the voice of harpers harping with their harps. And they sung as it were a new song before the throne and before the four beasts and the elders. The word elder is the word sheiks. Islam was? And no man could learn that song but the 144,000 which were redeemed from the earth. These are they which were not defiled with women, for they are virgins. That does not mean what you think it does. I'll square it later. These are they which follow the Lamb whithersoever he goeth. These were redeemed from among men, being the first fruits unto God and to the Lamb. And the European, some of us are old enough to remember this. Europeans have Mary had a little lamb whose feet was white as snow, and everywhere that the lamb was showed, that's drawn off of that right there. All right? And in their mouth was found no guile, for they are without fault before the throne of Allah. I'm going to say Allah. Islam was? All right? But that's drawn, when the prophet gives that demonstration in the Quran, when he talks about we don't demonstrate hypocrisy or deceit. Islam was? All right? It says, and I saw another angel fly in the midst of heaven, having what?
Everlasting gospel.
To preach unto them that dwell on the earth, and to every nation and kindred and tongue and people. What is the everlasting gospel?
Saving power.
It comes from?
God by his prophet.
Through? Let's try that again. Let's try that again. Let's go. There you go. Islam. Key 41. What is the everlasting gospel? It is the saving power that comes from Allah through our ancient fathers by his prophet. Islam? Saying with a loud voice, fear Allah and give glory to him, for the hour of his judgment is come, and worship him that made heaven and earth and the sea and the fountains of waters. And there followed another angel saying, Babylon is fallen, that great city, because she made all nations drink of the wine of the wrath of her fornication. So earlier when I talked about those not defiled with women, it's squaring the fact that nations are considered she, feminine in gender, right? Nation, or the word nationality, both words come from the word natal, meaning birth, or to be born from, right? So, there's a phrase that says, if you beat a man, you beat an individual. But if you beat a woman, you beat a nation. Or if you teach a man, you teach an individual. If you teach a woman, you teach a nation. Islam, because she represents the entire totality of what nationhood is. Islam? So anyone that defiles themselves with the trappings of the wrong nation, you're going to succumb to the things that come with that. Islam was? But the prophet told us to be a clean and what?
Pure nation.
Pure nation. So he did refer to us as a nation of people, but we have to be clean and pure. Islam was? Let's move forward. Right? And the third angel followed them, saying with a loud voice, if any man worship the beast and his image and receive his mark in his forehead or in his hand, the same shall drink of the wine of the wrath of Allah, which is poured out without mixture into the cup of his indignation, and he shall be tormented with fire and brimstone in the presence of the holy angels and in the presence of the Lamb. And who is it again that protects the holy city? Angels, right? But here's, it goes a little further. It says holy angels. Islam says, here is the patience of the saints. Here are they that keep the commandments of Allah and the faith of Jesus. And I heard a voice from heaven saying unto me, write, blessed are the dead which die in the Lord from henceforth. Yea, saith the Spirit, that they may rest from their labors, and their works do follow them. And I looked, and behold, a white cloud. What does white mean? What does white represent? Purity means God. And God means
Ruler of the land.
Islam. And behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man, having upon his head a golden crown. Right? A golden crown, right? And in his hand a sharp sickle, right? Astrologically, which house demonstrates the sickle? The Grim Reaper, right? Whose animal is the goat? Capricorn, right? Right? When was Prophet Noble Dryly born? January 8th, 1886. So he had the Islam, and he had the golden Islam. All right. And another angel came out of the temple, came out of the church, right? And another came out of the mosque, right?
The temple.
And another angel came out of the temple, right?
Islam.
Crying with a loud voice to him, to him that sat on the cloud, thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time has come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. So this is, when you reaping what you've sowed, that's the coming of what principle of our 5? Justice. Islam. And Jesus means Islam. And Noble Drew Ali is who reincarnated?
Jesus.
Islam. I'm just making sure. And he that sat on the cloud thrust in his sickle on the earth, and the earth was reaped. 17. And another angel came out of the temple, the church, right? Out of the temple, which is in heaven, first heaven, right? Islam. He also having a sharp sickle. And another angel came out from the altar, right? Islam. Which had the power over fire, and cried with a loud cry to him that had the sharp sickle, saying, thrust in thy sharp sickle and gather the clusters of the vine of the earth, for her grapes are fully ripe. Islam, Morris? All right, these are the ones that's on the rock of salvation. Islam? And the angel thrust in his sickle into the earth and gathered the vine of the earth and cast it into the great wine press of the wrath of God. What's a wine press? That's what they used to sing grapes through. Press them down to become wine, right? And the wine press was trodden without the city, and blood came out of the wine press, even unto the horse bridles. So, the bit that goes into the horse's mouth, how high the horse's head up. So they're saying blood is flowing up that high. So it's a great wrath going on earth, right? Even unto the horse's bridles, by the space of 1,600 furlongs. Islam, Morris? So that wine press demonstration and the blood is being, demonstrated, stuff like that. The blood that's being demonstrated. Islam? Why your fezzes red? The wars that were fought. Your ancestors who were slain to uphold these truths to be self-evident, that all men were created equal.
Islam.
That didn't start in 1776 or 4. That's an ancient thought, right? And your forefathers fought for the equality of all men and women, right? Novus Ordo Seclorum is not some Illuminati spook byword, right? That was a part of the divine plan of the ages from ancient times. Your forefathers were the first one to start doing that, going around to the ancient rulers of the earth and saying, look, man, these wars don't make sense, man. Come on, this is bad for business, right? We can't keep our commerce and trade going with all these wars and stuff like that. Look, what do y'all stand for? What principles you stand for? They say their principles, we say ours. You can't hear the universality and all of that, right? Let's stop the wars. And then what started happening was, even with our adversaries, right, across the party lines, even with the Europeans, the Knights Templars and all of them, the Society of Jesus, the Knights Templars also being known as the Society of Solomon, right? Some of them came over and said, what, these wars don't make sense. You know what I mean? And started studying. And what they get accused of worshiping. You remember the deity they got accused of worshiping? Baphomet.
Oh, yeah.
Remember Baphomet? And Baphomet is an Arabic word meaning Abu Fahamet, which means the father of understanding. And the head of Baphomet is a what? A goat. Going back to Capricorn, going back to the sickle, going back to reaping, Islam Moors? And that Capricorn is demonstrating finite boundaries or circumscription, right? By creating that circle around yourself so that way you don't step outside those particular boundaries, right? What Negro, Black, and Color did, they removed the boundaries away, right? They took freedom away and gave us liberty. Liberty is a Greek god liber, which means you do what you like, when you like, whatever you feel. It's based on your passions, right? These Roman holidays of Saturnalia and All Hallows Eve, that's liberty. They did whatever on those days, right? Even like what they say Christmas time, they put the mistletoe up, which just happens to be this color here, right? But they put it up and they say in Roman tradition, wherever that hangs, you can kiss any woman that you want to, with a will or against it. That's liberty, that's not freedom. Freedom still has restrictions. Islam Moors? The Moor Science of America, you free men and women. But you have rules and regulations to follow. You have principles, you have virtues, you have maxims of truth. You have things that keep you circumscribed. You have tools. You got a compass, you got a square, you got a plumb line, right? What plane are we in right now? What plane of existence is this? In chapter 5, what did the prophet say we use the plane for? Y'all ever put them two together? Go to chapter 5. You got to cross-reference the prophet's works. Never take him, never take one thing he said and say, okay, I got what he means. You got to cross-reference it. Chapter 5, go down to where it talks about the plane. Plane. We use the plane to do what? Say again, Sister Jasmine.
Smooth the rough, uneven surfaces of joint and block the board to go to build the temple for the temple of truth. Wow.
Islam. The rough, uneven surfaces. So we here to work all that out to build the temple for truth. Islam more? That's what the plane of the carnal plane is, the plane of soul, all of that. Right? We here to work out sums. Islam more? Islam. All right? So, and just to square some of the terms we used in that Revelations 14, we touched on what is an angel. Right? If you notice those angels, were those angels sitting still in Revelations 14 or were they busy?
Oh yeah, they were moving.
What is, okay, we don't run through it. I'm jumping. Key 38. Boy, that holy breath get good.
Yeah.
All I have to say is good, it's great and it's good, more. Was, is, ever more to be. I mean, right? Key 38, what is an angel? An angel is a thought of Allah manifested in what? Human flesh. These ain't spooks. First of all, the prophet squared that. So when we read Revelations, we're not spooked out. These are human beings running around the planet getting this work done, right? It says, what are angels used for, right? And the underlying thing in that is used by too, right? Because it's Allah that sends these ones, right? But what are the angels used for? To carry messages to the four corners of the world to all nations. Ain't that what they was doing in Revelations 14? Right. Who did the prophet Noble Drew Ali came from? He came for us. He said, but I'm a universal prophet and my principles are universal, right? So you are gonna have to take this and straighten the world out, right? Because a lot of them are still on old world, an old era of time thought. Islam. It's no strange happening. You was born here in America under this. Wow. Constitution of the United States. What did the prophet have to say about the American Constitution? He said it's one of the what? Greatest documents ever written. And we are born here, Moors, and don't know this. Islam Moors? Remember, our movement is divine and national. So you have to study this and put it in motion. But in your movement as an American citizen, you're using your Moorish American principles, your Muslim principles, to be the best American citizen. So this ends up meaning something. Islam? But this alone means nothing without this.
That's right.
Islam Moors? Because if I don't honor this and I don't honor this, I might as well put both my eyes out and be like Samson pushing down the pillars to destroy the temple. If I don't honor both pillars.
Islam.
That's why they positioned Samson. I meant Samson. Remember I did? Okay. But when they cut his hair started growing back, he started feeling the strength, but he was feeling the corruption around him. He just pushed everything, brought the whole temple down. Say again, Mo? Islam, Mo? Islam, Mo? Allah willing. Well, Allah sent the prophet, he put it back. Islam, Mo? So we don't have to run around like that. And matter of fact, that angel degree going around the planet, here it is. Here it is. Islam, Mo? Ain't no sitting still, you got to be busy. Islam Moors? The European calls this a liberty cap. Gotta watch them words. He calls this a liberty cap. Research the statue that's on top of the Capitol building, right? And he has one of these on. Islam, but they say he has a liberty cap on. And if we research liberty cap in Roman society, it was given to freed slaves to show they were no longer slaves. Do the knowledge to liberty cap, right? We touched on key 41, what is the everlasting gospel, saving power. It is a saving power that comes from Allah through our ancient fathers by his prophet. We touched on who is guarding the holy city of Mecca today to keep the unbelievers away. Angels. What is the modern name for those angels? Asiatics. What is the shade of their skin? Are the Moorish Americans any relations to those angels? Yes, we all have the same father and mother. Islam Moors? So the Prophet Noble Drew Ali is giving us these keys because now we can go back to our own true and divine records that the European misinterpreted, and now we got a square to put on the Bible.
That's right.
Right? So we take the Bible and we put our square on it and measure it to see if it's true. To test the put the plumb line on it, test the accuracy, see if it's upright. but we use our records to do that. Islam Moors? That's the purpose of the instruments, the records that the Prophet Noble Drew Ali returned to us. These little small pamphlets don't look like much, but if you know what you're working with, this thing is powerful. Islam Moors?
Islam.
All right. I want to draw from Islam Moor.
Islam. The Prophet also said that don't throw away your Bibles. We're gonna use it to condemn the Europeans.
Islam Moors. Islam. Because again, it's like, what true and divine record does the European have?
Ours.
Ours. He does, because what prophets were sent to him? They try to claim Nostradamus.
Oh, okay.
But Nostradamus was, how Nostradamus was seeing those prophecies. Y'all heard that story? Nostradamus used to roll with a Moor, right? And the Moor was an alchemist. And he made a bunch of different elixirs and stuff like that, right? So he would go around, the Moor would go around healing people and stuff like that. So Nostradamus was, taking notes or whatever. So the Moor, the master, had to go out of town. He left Nostradamus with the shop, right? So Nostradamus asked him about a particular elixir. So what about this? He said, yes. He said, if you take bits of it, it'll open you up and you'll be able to see things. But take smaller dosages. What did Nostradamus do? He drank the whole thing, right? Just like children do, right? All right. And what it did was it opened the hippocampus area of his brain up to the point where he would hit, like it would just open up and he would jump time and see all these different things, but he couldn't control it. Islam Moors? But the point is that he learned these things from a Moor. It always goes back to you. You trace it back far enough, it always goes back to you. There's a European, if you study the Middle Ages, there's a European named Cagliostro. I don't know if y'all up on him. But Cagliostro was an occultist, an alchemist, so on and so forth. Cagliostro rolled with a Moor, what they call El Thotas. El Thotas is the Moorish equivalent in the Middle Ages of Melchizedek. They don't know where he came from. They don't know who his mother and father was. He would pop in and out of time. He would always roll with this dog. This dog was of a breed called the Saluki, right? The Saluki dogs were, Anubis from ancient Egypt. That dog that they depict him as is the Saluki, right? The Muslims said that, the Muslims looked at, our forefathers looked at dogs as unclean, but they viewed the Saluki as the only dog sent from Allah. Right? Because of its intelligence, because of its integrity, loyalty to its master, to its cunning ability. It's in the Greyhound family. Same build, same sleek, they're real tall like that. They're Saluki, right? But and this El Thotas, and when they break his name apart, you get Thoth, which is Tahuti, the wise scribe. You know what I'm saying? But very interesting history to research, But I digress.
That would be.
Oh, praise Allah. May Allah be praised. All right. We're going to go to, I'm going to read 2 articles for you, and one segment out of Ruin of Empires by C.L. Volney. Then I'll open up for questions. If not, I'll lower the meeting. Islam Moors?
Islam.
This article is entitled, Moorish Head Makes Plans for Conclave. What is a conclave? I know.
Gathering, conference.
Specifically amongst who? The conclave. Roman Catholic Church. Right? So you see them going in conclave generally when a pope dies, right? And they get together, they close off, and they lock the door, right? And then, they vote on who's going to be, but it has to be unanimous. And they send the smoke up, and if the smoke is black that comes out the top, they're undecided. If the smoke comes out white, he's decided. The new pope has been picked. But that process is called conclave. Now this was the Chicago Defender writing about the Moorish Science Temple of America's annual convention. So them not knowing called it a conclave, right? It says, beginning October 15th and continuing through the entire week, the Moorish Science Temple of America, of which Mr. Drew Ali is the founder and president, will hold his first general conference at Unity Hall, 3140 Indiana Avenue, Chicago, Illinois. President Ali began definite plans to end upon his recent return from Pine Bluff, Arkansas, where he spent several days lecturing at the local Moorish temple. This organization is playing a useful and definite part in advancing the sacred obligations of American citizenship. Indications are that this convention will be one of the most interesting ever held in the city. It will be featured by delegates attending in pilgrimages from 15 different states where local temples have been established. There will be an interesting parade in which men and women members will wear regalia similar to that worn in Eastern countries. A camel will be used. This is 1928, my prophet had a camel horse. Can we get a camel? Can we get a camel on the parade more? I want a camel more. During the sessions, specific portions of the general work and civic accomplishments of the local accomplishments will be made. Reports of the business enterprises that have been established in connection with these temples, such as 2 grocery and market stores in Detroit and a laundry in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and moving and express business and a grocery in Chicago. These examples of collective effort show that the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America and their leaders have a sound economic program and are blazing the trail and marking the pathway over which our posterity may travel unhampered and unafraid. It must, and this is a quote, it says, "It must be kept in mind that no great movement can take definite shape in 2 or 3 years so as to be error-proof," said President Ali. Quote, "However, through accumulating experience, each annual convention ought to witness a more perfect and wider functioning organization, representing the organized experience of men and women members throughout the country and possibly in time the world over." To all nations, Islam. And continuing, President Ali said, "Constructive criticism from sympathetic friends in and outside of our ranks is welcomed." Islam?
Islam.
Praise Allah. And we will go to another article entitled, "Whole Session of Moorish Science Body." Many delegates from temples attend. The annual convention of Moorish Science Temple of America opened October 14th at Unity Hall, 3140 Indiana Avenue. Prophet Noble Drew Ali, founder and head of the body, will preside over the sessions, which closed Saturday evening. More than 1,000 delegates from 15 different temples were reported present during the meetings. Following registrations at headquarters, Monday reports were read from the 2 grand governors, T. Crumby Bey, if you see the picture where the prophet surrounded by the political delegates, the brother that's sitting there with the Egyptian pharaoh headdress on, that's brother T. Crumby Bey, Pittsburgh. And Lomax Bey is the brother that's with the sash on like the prophet, right? Of Detroit, Michigan. He was a business genius, by the way. That's where Elijah Muhammad got a lot of his, because he was part of that. Tuesday evening, the welcome address was delivered by Alderman Louis B. Anderson. Other speakers were Oscar DePriest, Third Ward Committeeman Dr. Roman of Meharry Medical College, Nashville, Tennessee, Attorney George W. Blackwell, and Aaron Payne. Aaron Payne is the light-skinned brother that's all the way in the back in the annual convention photo. The one they say is Farrar Muhammad, but it's really, that's the prophet's attorney. And yes, the prophet had an attorney. Richard Ross was master of ceremonies, and Claude D. Green, notice they didn't say Bay, managing editor of the Moorish Guide, is chairman of the arrangement committee, which has worked hard to get everything in splendid order for the reception of the visitors. Wednesday, a parade was held. Islam was?
Islam.
All right. And the parade, it was via the parade that the prophet said that he announced us as a nation to the world. Right?
Islam.
That was among the many things, right? That was one of his chief ways of proclaiming our nationality. Because, like, again, respect due. But, in certain schools of thought, I'll say it that way, you can only wear this in their particular institution. Or if you're wearing it out, you can only be doing it while doing charity work, and then you got to take it off and put it in the closet and let it collect dust until the next time. But this is your birthright. You could wear it whenever you wanted to wear it every day, you could. Islam? And it's because the Prophet Noble Drew Ali proclaimed our existence before the nations of the world by that parade in 1928 that was chronicled throughout the country. Right? So that went out and guaranteed that, ones of various different orders that had an international feel was attuned with that as well. Back in those days, they had Telegram as well. So they could send that message out to let them know, man, look, it's 1,000 people out here in Moorish garment talking about the Moors are back. You know what I'm saying? So it's no secret or strange happening. The prophet announced you to the world, right? So that's why the world knows who you are. So don't be ashamed about your Moorishness. Right? But just be careful, and when you're conducting it, because they know what it's supposed to look like, because especially the European, because they know the Moors, and they know what the Moors did for their forefathers, right? They know the Moors for honor and integrity and upright, right? But if you run around here, you this Moor. You know what I'm saying? You're not squared up, you're not on your 45, you're not clear, you're not demonstrating your degrees, right? Then they're gonna look at you, oh, this is an imposter. Brother Yosef, you come across in your studies blue laws?
Not yet.
Okay, the blue laws are the antiquated laws, like the 1600s, 1700s, when they first got here. And gratitude. And the blue laws were like there's a law in the books in New Jersey. It's literally impersonating a Moor. It's on the books from the 1700s, right? So if you run around doing things you ain't got no business doing that's in contradiction to what your forefathers were. If they wanted to, they could charge you with an old blue law and get, 10 days in jail out of you. And a fine, or whatever the particular charge is. You see what I'm saying? But the point is, the nations of the earth know who you are. Let me just read this real quick, just to give a brief timeline. Islam, boys, y'all all right?
Islam.
Praise Allah. Make sure y'all ain't going to sleep on me. Jesus' disciples went to sleep on him. He said, can you watch with me for 1 hour? He came back and checked on them. Brothers were snoring. Islam. Dates to remember, okay? May 25th, 1787. The Constitutional Convention opens with a quorum. What is a quorum?
That's
No,
like
sir.
enough.
It's something that you need in order to get the decree.
Oh,
What is it, more?
from my understanding, there's enough people who are able to vote on whatever the issues are.
Islam.
Changes need to be made.
Islam.
You have to have a quorum.
Right. So the quorum would be like if we had 10 members and the quorum is 6, meaning you needed 6 in order to pass a law through. If you don't have 6, you can't do that vote because there's not 6 members present. Islam. So it says, well, like I said, to get the decree, right? It says with a quorum of 7 states, right? Okay. In Philadelphia to discuss revising the Articles of Confederation. Eventually, all states but Rhode Island are represented. September. Now look at the timeline now. So that was May. This is September, same year. All 12 state delegations approved the Constitution. 39 delegates sign it of the 42 present, and the convention formally adjourns. Right? Next year, June 21st, 1788. The Constitution becomes effective for the ratifying states when New Hampshire is the 9th state to ratify it. March 4th, 1789. The first Congress under the Constitution convenes in New York City. April 30th, 1789. George Washington is inaugurated as the first president of the United States. And that's because he was formerly a general, right? And they looked at how he led as a general, and they said he's a worthy leader, and then they appointed him. Right? Prophet Noble Drew Ali is not only our prophet, he's also our general. Islam Moors? He organizes according to strategy. Islam Moors? All right? It says June 8, 1789, James Madison introduces proposed Bill of Rights in the House of Representatives. September 24th, 1789, Congress establishes a Supreme Court, 13 district courts, 3 ad hoc circuit courts, and the position of Attorney General. September 25th, 1789, Congress approves 12 amendments and sends them to the states for ratification. February 2nd, 1790, Supreme Court convenes for the first time under an unsuccessful attempt February 1st. December 15th, 1791, Virginia ratifies the Bill of Rights, and 10 of the 12 proposed amendments become a part of the U.S. Constitution. Islam Moors? Like it or not, them angels was busy. Few months, they meet here, boom, we do this, set according to task, the agenda, get it done, come back, let's vote on it, whatever, all right, a few months from now or next year, all the way up till they got it to this point. Islam Moors? You know what, angel, because that's how they move. Angel is not based on color or race or none of that. It's based on the duty to carry messages to the four corners of the earth, to all nations. The four corners of the world, to all nations. Islam Moors? All right? So, and that's one thing I appreciate about the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I'll make this statement and I'll open for questions and I'll close. I won't burden the Moors. The reason why I appreciate the Prophet is because the Prophet removed inferiority from us, right? And with that, he didn't put in superiority. He didn't give you that, boast not of superior understanding, right? So you're not running around here talking about how better you are than anybody. That's not Moorish. Islam. In fact, that's how we fell. You know what I mean? Like, you see them old paintings of the Moors, the head up, just cutting people's heads off. We cheer that stuff on now, but that's literally how we fell. No, not a fiber of humility to be found, right? But, the fact that the Prophet enabled us to, or entitled us to look as equals with the nations of the earth. You see what I'm saying? So when they talk to you, they don't feel the sense of inferiority. Because, wait, this ain't one of our Negroes, right? Clearly. You know what I'm saying? And it's not just because of the dress, because even if you didn't have your affairs of turban on, how many of you had that experience where people walk up to you and just, you Muslim? You Muslim, right? You got to be something because you're not what I'm used to dealing with on a regular basis. Islam Moors? Because the Prophet gives you that energy, right? And when I say the Prophet was noted, I'm saying that the spirit of that community of prophets that came, right? Because Prophet Noble Drew Ali came with the authority of all the prophets that came before him. Islam? That's how he's able to look as and be as noble as he was. You don't just wake up and be this, Morris. You don't just wake up and be that unless you're divinely prepared. You know, unless you sat at the feet of masters. Islam? You know, and these are the things that we have to go back to. Another reference I'd like to get y'all to, another true and divine record. It's a compilation known as you see, this one's been read to death. the lost books of the Bible and the forgotten books of Eden, right? This is the one that breaks down, you know, Friday being your holy day of rest because of the first man formed in the flesh. That's in here. You know what I'm saying? This gives you breakdowns, outer court of your first, second, and third heavens, all the way up into the seventh, dealing with Enoch. Islam Morris? So the Prophet Noble Drew Ali was giving you stuff that can be researched, that can be found. As Brother Yosef found that powerful demonstration you gave. But I was over here speechless, more. American citizens, Moors, more. Political council. That's powerful, Moors. You know, you've been involved in government. That's why you didn't need the 14th and 15th Amendment. That's why, because you had been involved since 1774. So we don't hang that around our necks and say we're not 14th Amendment, but that's not what we're saying. Because that's another language. Don't mess with that. But like the Prophet said, we didn't need it primarily because that wasn't enacted for you. That was enacted for the European to bring them back after the Civil War, right? But the reality of you had been, you know, you could provide multiple cases where the Moors were involved in governments in Virginia and South Carolina and different places, you know, voting. Islam? And you know, back in those days, you could only vote if you owned land, if you were a landowner. That's right. In those days. So the Moors are also the rulers of the land in the 1700s. Benjamin Banneker, 1700s, never was a slave.
Islam.
Never was a slave. Debated Thomas Jefferson on the merits of him authoring a document entitled the Declaration of Independence, but he owned 200 slaves. And they debated as equals in a newspaper called the Black Chronicle in the 1700s. You know? He said, if y'all have a Department of War, this is Benjamin Banneker, where's your Department of Peace to ensure the peace? Because he was a Muslim. Because he was a Muslim.
Islam.
You know? And they listened to it and think, yeah, but nah. You know, because they're about war. They're warmongers, right? I mean, to the point where they hang this stuff around you don't even know what you're looking at. You know, Moore mentioned DeKalb County earlier, and Decatur sits in DeKalb County, right? Well, who was Decatur named after? Anybody know Stephen Decatur, who fought in the Barbary Wars against the Moors? Google Stephen Decatur. They put it right in your face. Where you from? I'm Decatur. I'm from Decatur. I'm proud. You from the land named after a man who defeated your forefathers. Please, somebody pull that up. I don't want y'all looking at me like I'm freestyling. Y'all looking at me like I'm coming off the dome, like I'm, you know, like we battle rapping or something. Like, nah, I'm just saying, no, we ain't doing that. My name ain't Cassidy. All right. Praise Allah. Praise Stephen Decatur. They spell it Stephen. Stephen Decatur. And I don't like to use Wikipedia for a source, but it's convenient. Just go to the Wikipedia one and scroll down till you see the term. It's in the first paragraph after, you know, the highlighted portions. Go down where it says Barbary Wars and read that sentence. Anybody see it? Go ahead, read it, Mo. Go ahead. It's just one sentence. Go ahead, read it.
His service in the Navy took him through both Barbary Wars in North Africa, the Quasi-War with France, and the War of 1812 with Britain.
Now, if you click on that Barbary Wars, it'll give you that whole piece. You know what I mean? Or if you get that, what's that book called? I'll get it to you later. But it's a book that breaks down that whole war thing and Stephen Decatur's role in that, you know, and the development of the Marine anthem from the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli. So from Mexico, from the Americas to North Africa, they were seeking to overthrow the empire. Islam Morris? All right? So, you know, these type of things, but you got to know who you are, whose you are, you know, and know thyself and thy Father God Allah. Islam Morris? Are there any questions before we lower the meeting? What? You good, my brother?
Yeah, I'm good.
Brother, hailing from New York.
Hailing from New York.
You said the Bronx, right?
Yes.
Praise Allah. How's everything in the Bronx, boy? How's the family up in the Bronx?
Everybody's good.
Everybody's well?
Yes.
Okay. Still some Asiatic, or the European that ran everybody out?
Nah, it's still Asiatic.
It's still Asiatic? So some pockets?
Yes.
Islam.
Yeah.
Praise Allah. Well, more, you know, anytime you're in Atlanta, you're more than welcome to visit Temple number 19. You know, there's only one more Science Temple of America.
Yes.
Right? Don't get caught up in what, you know, you may hear one say about the More Science Temple of America. There's only one. Islam?
Islam.
You know, and, you know, the Prophet's temple's doors are always open. So we're not going to stop you there. Well, what you doing here, boy? No, Islam, more welcome, because you're family. As long as you come and adhering at all times to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, all is well. Islam Morris? Are there other questions, comments, concerns, or statements? Islam Morris?
Would you be willing to run off? Like,
What you got?
writing dates that I was missing. Dates.
Okay, the dates I was reading off?
Yeah.
Sure.
May 25th, 18th.
Okay, let's get it. I got a March 4th. Oh, May 25th. I'm sorry, May 25th, 1787. And you just put Constitutional Convention. You want all the dates or? Okay, we got a little time. Got 2 minutes. I'll run through them. September 17th, 1787. Actually, what I could do just for time, so not to burden the Moors, I'll just drop this on you, and you could log them in after the meeting. That's well. Islam. Praise Allah. Right here for you, Moor. All right. And for those just watching on video, you just scroll back because we went through it. But with that, we'll lower the meeting. Islam?
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
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 Moorish Science Temple of America, Noble Drew Ali founder, home office, Chicago, Illinois, March 11th, 1929. A warning from the Prophet to be read in every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must put an end to all radical and agitating speech while on their jobs, homes, or on the public streets. We advocate peace and not destruction. Stop trying out your cards with Europeans, for it causes confusion. There has been much confusion caused by members trying out their cards. The cards are for your salvation. Failure of obeying my orders will be of severe consequence. We offer love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members that seek to hold malicious feelings towards the temple or the Prophet, or to violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors must obey the laws laid down to them by their Prophet, and if they lose confidence in their Prophet, give up your card and button, cease wearing your turban or fez, and return to the state where I, the Prophet, found you. For this is a holy and divine movement founded by the Prophet, Noble Drew Ali. And if the Prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The Prophet is sending out a divine plea to all true Moorish Americans that they may do their part in protecting the Prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the Prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Peace. Noble Drew Ali. Islam?
Islam.
Islam?
Islam.
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 All praise is due to Allah. The highest of honors to his holy and divine Prophet, Prophet Noble Drew Ali, a warner and a savior to humanity. Love manifests so that men may comprehend. Islam Moors? You know, I'd like to just put out there, just for the sake of humanity, praise Allah. Moors, if you're not a member in the Moorish Science Temple of America, find a way to become one. Islam Moors? If you don't understand the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, visit the Moorish Science Temple of America to be explained who this great and mighty man was. Because you can't learn about him on the internet. They lie about my Prophet on the internet. You know, they spin lies. They say a bunch of, people be like, the Prophet said. I'm like, the Prophet never said that. You see what I'm saying? Like, if you don't study what he did say, what his words, works, and deeds was, when people say that, you won't know how to check falsehood, Morris. In all the world, there's only 2 things. What are they?
Truth and falsehood.
Right? So, truth is art. Right? And falsehood is that which seems to be. Right? So, people are running around with a lot of seeming to be. Right? And, we have to be the best example of that. And, we have to create that environment, that abode of peace, so we can call ones in, and when they get here, they'll feel home, and like they're at home. They should feel a spirit of warmth. Like I said, it should be babies and sisters, and you know what I'm saying, whatever. Even if the youth are here and they go to sleep, you think their subconscious mind is clicked off because their eyes shut? That subconscious continually recording. Islam, add on. What's the holy name? Come on, let's go.
Islam, but just camelback off that. I was sitting here as the young ones were sitting here, and they're getting the measures, they're hearing it, and of course, a lot of the things that are being said, they don't really understand. It's not really registering in their minds. But one thing for certain, 2 things for sure. Islam, that just constantly Islam. It registers all. It registers.
Islam.
It registers.
Psychological studies, they call that loading the language. You know what I'm saying? Like, you got to upload this thing, because we got a lot of stuff that we've downloaded on some folly. We got more folly than truth, right? So we got to surround ourselves by, enforcing our laws and customs. Ancient wars were fought because customs were violated. I read one segment of, it was a war between two Moorish sultans. They were brothers. And the war started because one of the sultans sent a gift to his brother, and his brother was mad at him and didn't accept it. He waged a war on his brother. Hundreds of lives were lost. To the other brother said, you know what, I'll just accept the gift. And the war ended. And that seems but custom, because it was considered inhospitable to refuse a gift.
It's true.
Islam? And one thing your Moorish forefathers was known was for their hospitality. One thing I give the Moroccans who are in Morocco today, who are an amalgamated version of our forefathers, but still family, right? If you go there now as a visitor, right, and you get cool with a family and they invite you over to their house, one thing that you'll find is that they'll cook a gigantic meal, and they serve meals in courses, like 5, 6, 7 course meal, right? They'll feed you 7 courses before they even eat. And their whole time they sit watching you like this. Is it good? Is it good? Alhamdulillah, let me get you something else. That's ancient, right? It's a thing we do when we have, gatherings here. Like if you notice when everybody's eating, when the meals are being served, I always eat last. That's ancient, because again, you want to make sure, as the host, you want to make sure that everyone is well before you sit down and, the master known as Sheik Heru, the prophet's chauffeur, the one known as the reincarnated prophet. That was one of his teachings, is that, customs mean everything. You notice in his reign, you start seeing the Moors with the capes on, beards, going back to the customs of our forefathers, right? Because the Prophet Noble Ali said that, you can't create your own laws and customs as long as they're in conjunction with the laws of the Grand Major Temple, right? Because this has to become more than just a philosophical movement. It has to become your way of life. And until it becomes your way of life, you're going to play with it and put it on and off. I'm a more like General Tariq, Zayd, and, Abdul Rahman, and Hanno, and Hannibal. I come in the spirit of that. So I'm Moorish 2 in the morning. I'm Moorish 7 in the morning when I wake up and say my Moorish, make my wash and say my Moorish American prayer in my small, still voice, right? I'm Moorish. I'm Moorish when I'm cutting hair, I'm Moorish. You know what I'm saying? I'm cutting because I'm demonstrating to the person high thoughts, playing high music in the environment, nothing low. That's more. Everything about you has to be Moorish, how you move through the earth. That's how the nations will know what being Moorish American Muslim is. Laws and customs are everything. And you have to be one that's willing to protect the holy city. Islam, are you willing to be one of those angels in human flesh? Right? Those busy angels that's on the 4 corners of the planet. Islam? All right? And with that, I'll leave you as I came in peace. Islam? All right? Everyone please rise. Face the east, which is right ahead of you. Hold your feet at the 45, standing on your square. Raise 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Invoking the sacred presence of the 7 Elohim that created everything that ever was, is, or ever more to be. Please repeat after me. Allah. Allah. The Father of the universe.
Father of the universe.
The Father of love.
Father of love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom.
Freedom.
And justice.
And justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
And my salvation.
And my salvation.
By night.
By night.
And by day.
And by day.
Through his holy prophet.
Through his holy prophet.
Drew Ali.
Drew Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Islam, Moors.
Islam.
Praise Allah. Islam.
Islam.
Allahu Akbar. Hayya ala salah.